Hello and welcome back to the Pinnacle Esports channel. Today I'm joined by BDog and we are going to be going through our Challenger stage predictions. So let's just get straight into this. We're going to go with our Frios to begin with. Do you want to go with this? Because I think you know who mine's going
Um,
to be.
Based on you saying that, I think you're gone with NIP.
I've gone with NIP, yes.
So yeah, we could do mine first. I've gone with fours. I think look, there's an interesting argument here for the 3-0 because the way that people should do pick'ems and the way that like kind of everyone promotes them, the way that I'll encourage as well, put your safe picks just in the bottom. So like you can get an easy point. So based on that, I thought look, there's several options that could be 3-0. You could have like NIP because they're kind of very high variance. You could have fours that could go on a very good run. Fours do really well in best of ones. Then basically, if I'm assuming they go 3-0, they would need to win just two best of ones and then a single best of three. Jerry always saves strats for the major. They've got a very good team. This is like one of the best fours teams I think I've ever seen attending a major. And I think like there's a lot that this team can give. I feel like the ceiling of these players is mechanically high enough to win a lot of best of threes, whether it's a one-off, whether it's on a consistent basis, but they only need it to happen once. And I take a look at the kind of the upper echelon teams that you kind of class as tier one. I think fours can beat Liquid. I think fours on their day can beat Ents. I think fours can beat OG. I think fours can beat Mouse. I think they'll struggle with Phase and G2, but if it's a one-off, they only need this reality where they win the best of three. So I've gone with fours.
I think fours here are kind of like the replacement spirit. They seem like the
Yeah.
team that can do a lot of upsets, but in my head as well, I can also just kind of see them bombing out if they don't get off to a good start. But that being said, they
Yep.
did quite well at the last RMR, so it we'll see how that goes. They took down NIP, which is my pick.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like the fours pick. The reason I've gone with
All right.
NIP is, and you have to bear with me explaining my bracket that I
That's fine.
made. So they play Maz in the first round. I think Maz have been quite shaky. I also
Yeah.
think in recent form, Hedrick is been a lot better than Torzi has.
Yeah, I'll
So
agree with you on that.
when you're looking at like pound for pound AWPers, and Brolin's also kind of on the rise in terms of how well he's performing recently. He had a bit of a slump. He's coming back up. So I'm gonna, I'll cope and say that NIP beat Maz in that round, and then they play OG in my bracket, and this is where
Okay.
it gets interesting, because at the last four times NIP have played OG, they have won the
Okay.
last four times. So it would only be NIP fashion if they decided to lose it now, in the most important event, probably of most of these players' career.
When was the last time Nip played OG?
That
Did you
was
write
the
that down?
IEM Dallas close qualifier.
Okay,
So the
fine.
four events they've played them is that one, Blast Spring Showdown, EPL
Mm,
Season 17, and the Blast Full Final. So
okay, fine.
fairly recent events, and pretty, I think that most of them are like 2-0s. So if they play OG in that second round, I'm giving it NIP. And then
Okay.
in the best of three matchup is NIP Liquid. And I think they're both teams that are shaky. Um, so again, it's one of those matchups that I think could go either way. It really depends on how the individuals turn up. I think you've got similar situations, like a Legion and Res, where they're not playing at their highest ceiling, and if one of them does in one of these maps, then they just take the series pretty much. So there's my justification for NIP, which is completely delusional, I'm aware, but I'll hope for them to actually make the legend stage. I'll hope that they make playoffs so that I get to watch them. But yeah, I think they're both solid picks for if we're picking this like most people do their pick'ems, where it's a
Yeah.
team that they're kind of unsure if they'll go through, but maybe because of matchups they have a good chance. I think they're both solid choices. I've seen a lot of people go for OG as well.
In 3-0.
Yeah.
Okay.
How do you feel?
Interesting.
How do you feel about
Um, that's horrible.
that?
No, it's not. To be fair, it's not. Like you got to take into account OG's recent form at IEM Rio. The fact that Nico is actually calling really well. The team actually looks really solid. I've been very impressed with what OG can bring to the table. I think and what's kind of funny with that is it OG, the 3-0 idea, that actually just goes kind of hand in hand with one of the points I was going to counter about your nip ideology. And the only thing, the only not criticism, but it's like the only kind of counterpoint I've got to you picking nip going 3-0 is you got to think about the map pool playing into both Mouse and OG. Because I feel like, look, NIP's strongest map is Mirage. Mouse are incredibly good on Mirage. The only reason why Mouse have been struggling really is because you've got not really got the same individuals kind of elevating themselves to the level that we expect from them. And it's ridiculous how high the bar is we've set for Mouse on these really young, very limited experience players. And I feel like when it's crunch time, when it's the biggest event in the careers, I feel like Mals will play NIP on Mirage and they will own them. If they don't, then OG will probably go into that game against NIP and probably try and pick Overpass. Something that they've recently just beat Vitality on, something that NIP have looked quite shaky on. And I feel like the veto just kind of is not really in favor of NIP due to a little bit of recency bias, but also just due to the individuals really peaking for OG at the right times. I feel like that best of one is going to be ridiculously difficult for NIP.
Yeah, I can agree with the map veto. I think, right now NIP they look to be playing like Mirage or Virgo, and a lot of these teams are
Yeah,
banning Virgo against them. I think because they are actually quite strong in it. But yeah, it when we're talking as well about like, biggest event of these players' career, I think there's a lot more riding on the back of these NIP players, Config, Res,
yeah,
Roland. These are people that have been to multiple like majors at this point and haven't come up, with a good placement or so if we're talking about like do or die situation, who wants it more? It's kind of
mm,
like, do the young guns want this more to prove that they have been, they can be something going into CS2, or is this something like Rez and Brolin, Config there, and even Alexi B, who's been in a final, they're there and they want this because they need to prove that they have been good enough. They didn't just get to a final because of some fluke. So
yeah. All right.
and if we're talking about that kind of thing, and I've seen a lot in the vlogs that they do, they work a lot on their mental,
Mm,
and yeah, the veto might not go their way, but maybe from perspective of like, the psychological side of it, maybe they can pull it through. Their communication seems to be a lot better over the coming months. I know the point I made in the fantasy video I did recently was that they have been improving a lot, and I know the 9 match might disagree with that in some ways, but the fact they were able to actually come back in that second
yeah,
map is kind of like,
yeah.
well, you can't do that if your communication isn't improving, your teamwork isn't improving. So, yeah, I think they're
Do you know
both solid
what?
options.
We'll we'll go with though for the video. We'll go NIP.
Let's go.
All right, let's do it.
Get me in there, good
What
votes.
what have you got for O3?
I put Floxo, and I think it's a pretty easy cop out there, but Floxo as well.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fair.
yeah.
A lot of people are going for Flux at the moment, and it's because look, they're actually performing really well online, sort of towards the back end of 2022. They actually made a roster change, got even stronger as well, but they've been really shaky, and on LAN they've not looked good. Like they barely scraped it to the
Yeah,
major. Um,
that's the reasoning I think a lot of people are going for. It's my reasoning as
yeah,
well. It's like the Americas RMR, the only team of like really notability is Pain that they played, and they got 2-0'd pretty hard.
yeah,
So I think the other teams, and I'm gonna completely butcher these names, so I apologize to all the South American fans. But there was Yer, there was Bestia, and there was Paqueta. Um,
yeah,
and I think a lot of people will hear those names and go, "Who the hell is that?" So yeah, it's kind of like if you've qualified, not really playing against anyone who is gonna be the competition you're gonna be playing against at this event, then how are you gonna perform well? You've not played at the same caliber as a lot of these teams have been playing, so it's tough.
yeah. I've also gone Fluxo. So that's it. It's kind of a really just similar explanation to what you've said. And Bestia and Paqueta are all teams that Fluxo beat in the CCT circuits very convincingly online. And it's wild that it is kind of crumbling. I don't like putting Fluxo 0-3. I really don't because I really like the team. But I take a look at all the options for 0-3. It's like the genuinely the only other team I can see potentially crumbling and not winning a best of three would maybe even be Pain.
Mm.
And it's really difficult to kind of separate these two. I think doing these pick'ems yesterday, I think I swapped between Pain and Fluxo probably about 8 times. I've landed on Fluxo, but um,
I'll tell
I actually
you
think it's a lot closer.
something that might upset you at that then. I had pain originally to go through until I changed it yesterday.
Okay. No,
So,
it's not gonna upset me.
yeah.
I mean, there's the thing is you've got there's so many different options here. And you've got a lot of teams in this challenger stage that are either peaking at the right time, coming into this in good form, and you've got teams that you don't know what to expect out of them. I think it's actually a really difficult challenger stage to pick. Um when it comes to the 3003. I think the bottom five is quite easy because I reckon you're gonna get 5 teams that are gonna go through.
No, no, definitely. I think Payne is a good example of that as well because you had them, winning Melbourne last year, got them
Yeah.
coming into this year, and they had a great RMR. Like I don't think many people expected them to be in that deciders match for the Legend stage. And I think there was a comment I saw on a Reddit post that they put up about pick'ems, and someone was like, "I just want a Liquid Pain final," and there was a reply to it was like, "That is the last thing you want as a Liquid fan." Because they just keep losing to Pain. So I think one of my 2-2 matches ended up being Liquid Pain, and I just looked and I was like, please no, I can't be doing this. But
Oh
was
no.
there anyone else that you considered for O3? I think Mongols might have been on other
Yeah,
people's.
like you can throw Greyhound in there, you can throw Mongols in there. Um, I know Lucy's got Greyhound as 3-0,
I saw
but
that.
that's because she's an Aussie fan. Yeah, the boys. I will do the service of not putting Greyhound in my O3. Um, because I don't know. I like the team. I don't think they'll actually there's a chance like they'll play Mongols and like win. They can even upset complexity. I'm gonna be real. So I don't think Greyhound is smart going 0-3. I think yeah, you could put Mongols, but I don't know. You never put an APAC team in 0-3, in my opinion. I just never do it. It scares me because it never happens, and I don't trust it.
Yeah, there's usually like one of these Brazilian teams end up there. I think a lot of people last year was it Godsent and I mean Double O
Yeah.
Nation. It might not have been Godsent actually, but Double O Nation I think were one of them because I actually beat them in the O2 game. I think could be remember that entirely wrong. But the remaining teams, so I'll list mine off and then you can just confirm with me after if you have anything similar or any changes.
Oh
So
yeah.
because I have NIP 3.0, I've got
Yeah.
G2, FaZe,
Mhm.
Liquid,
Yeah. Yeah.
Monty, Mouse, OG, and
Yeah.
Ents.
Okay. The only change I have is I don't have Monte, I've got GamerLegion.
Ooh, okay.
Um, but everything else is identical.
So when I did my pick'em, and I
Mm,
was doing the bracket, I seem to be really undervaluing Game Legion, and it's no disrespect to the team. I think Sui right now is a really great fragging IGL, but I just don't know where to place them. It's an odd one. I don't know
mm.
how they're gonna fare against some of these top teams. Uh, so yeah, I'm just a bit stuck on them. I don't know.
Yeah, so the thing is, for Monte, if you look at recent results, they are playing incredibly well, like ridiculously well. They're winning a lot of online tournaments. They're making good strides. Um, but it's got to be said that I watched them. I commentated the Central Europe final last week for CCT number 6. And Monte, their individuals look really good. Their T sides look really lost. On several different maps. It just feels like if they can't get the opener through their sheer aim, they haven't really got a backup plan. They struggled on T side Nuke. T side Vertigo look honestly pretty good. I'll give that to them. But they lost. They were up like 13-4 or something insane like that against Heat and I guess X Heat now. And they lost. And that was the grand final match. It went to OT and they lost in OT. And it was probably the most insane comeback I think I've ever watched, ever casted. Monte just for some of those rounds just looked really difficult in the mid round. Like it looked like either the game plan was falling apart or the communication weren't there. And when you're a severe, obviously they're going to go into the major run as underdogs, but if you go into that and you think, "Oh, we've got this game, it's easy, it's fine," which is the Monte mentality. That's how they think about every game, and then something goes wrong. You're in the biggest high pressure environment ever. You're on LAN. You're all together. Yeah, sure, you can look up and down the aisle. It's hard. It's gonna be so difficult. You don't have your coach.
Yeah.
That's, um that's my arguments. In terms of how you where you place GamerLegion, I think excuse me. I think GamerLegion genuinely is the most consistent team we have in the tier 2 space of Counter-Strike. I think they make consistent deep runs at every single tournament they attend, or in the case of like Elisa, they win it. Um, they have got very good individuals. They have got one of the best IGLs that is up and coming right now, and he's elevated that entire team. What's interesting as well, when you watch the T sides of Gamer Legion, especially on a map like Ancient, we'll just use that just as a sheer example. What Shui does really well is he puts himself in positions where he goes and scouts for information, and he uses himself as just a little bit of a recon so he can place his pieces in the best possible position to win the mid round. And it's really awesome to watch because he's obviously got very decent aim, but off the information he gathers alone, he can go, okay, guys, go this way, that way, let's go at NB. And I was watching at Rio, and Cloud9 actually do that a lot as well with Nafany. And it's like the IGL will make a play and he'll set his team up for success. And Gamer Legion do that across every single map. I think Ancient's a really good example of it. Like if you go and watch some Gamer Legion VODs, like you'll see Shui just like pushing red on like little weird timings, and then everyone will rotate to B, and it's really cool to watch. Um, I think Acor as well on LAN is insane. I think he just always arrives for majors, and it's the very last one, so you expect a really decent return out of Acor. So yeah, I've got Gamer Legion, and if they play Monte in a best of three, I think they beat them every single day of the week.
Do you know what I think it is as well? When they changed their logo, I now look at them and I just can't see them as the same team. But
I don't actually mind the logo. Their stickers in game are quite nice.
it just looks like the Gamersops one. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
But enough about the logo. Yeah. So the point you made about Monty and their T sides, I think, is pretty accurate with how like without their coach. That I when I saw the news yesterday, I was gonna change my picks and change my order because of that. It's one of those things where if they can't handle the pressure by themselves and they
Mm,
are struggling and they lose, consecutive rounds, are they going to be able to take that time out and talk amongst themselves without the coach there? So
exactly.
yeah, I can definitely see the argument for removing them and putting someone else in. Maybe another name I'd possibly shout out for that is Apex, just maybe because the actual the the experience of some of the players on that roster compared to Gamer Legion at an event like this. But I think Gamer Legion and Apex, if they play, it's like a very close match. Like it's one of the matches I quite enjoyed watching. So yeah, I think there's a few teams you could throw into that spot.
Yeah,
Like yeah, it's really going to come down to the bracket. I feel like what teams play what teams, and if someone gets a bit lucky having to go against a Floxo, or yeah, if a team isn't starting strong. Because I originally I didn't even have OG in because OG was it OG? No, it wasn't OG. Never mind. I didn't have OG in, but that's not the point I was trying to make. Ents, they
yeah,
start slow at these events. At the
yeah. That's
RMR,
true.
they were O2. So I have them like almost immediately. I think they get quite lucky in my round two, but other than that, they kind of lose the first two matches almost. So they might win the second one. I can't remember, but yeah, it's a lot of these teams that start slow, these big teams that you would expect to kind of just get through because pound for pound, their players are better. They could just get bested by one of these teams like Gamer Legion, especially in a best of one. So yeah. And your dark horse, I didn't put Monte down for mine because I put them through. I put Greyhound.
I Okay.
this is where you have to bear with my points.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Um,
go on.
so I quite value Greyhound in this environment. I think they kind of the attitude of the players here. I think Australian players are quite grateful for every opportunity that they get given to
Mm,
play into an international event. So I think, and I mean, Australians just seem happy. They just
yeah.
don't seem to be bothered by anything. So I mean, JKS might be the one exception who just looks miserable most of the time, but he can't be when he's winning as much as he's winning. But yeah, these Aussie boys on Greyhound, I think they played really well at Melbourne. If you
Yeah.
take away the 16-1 loss to Bad News Eagles in that first map, they won the second map and they almost won the third. They had an 11-4 half, they just weren't able to keep it. I'm not sure if that was something because they don't usually play in front of a home crowd against these international teams.
Yeah.
Um, so it kind of works either way, but yeah, I don't actually think they're going to do as badly as people think. They play
No.
fours in the first round, and I honestly do think there's a world in which they can win that match in a best
No.
of one.
Okay.
I genuinely think that there is a chance for them in this match. Like, I think Fours are a good team, but if we're talking about like recent results as well, other than the RMR, I don't, from what I looked at least, Fours have been pretty shaky here and there. Um, Again, it's not something that I'm entirely confident about Greyhound. They're gonna go all the way to the last round of this challenger stage,
That
but
veto should go ancient, by the way. So it's like
okay.
fours the Greyhound ancient. Um,
I'm trying to remember the Bad News Eagles game, and was it H in the third map?
Potentially. Let me fact check it.
Because I want to say that third map was 11-4 half, but I can't remember what map it was.
It was ancient decider. They did, yeah. It was eleven
Yeah,
four.
and then they choked. So, I don't think. I mean, they're currently the team that's dominating the Asian space, like
Mm,
in that region. So yeah, I think people will undervalue them. It's definitely going to come down to matchups. Like they could be, like I
yeah.
think Fours is a good opening matchup for them in terms of some of these other matchups. Like, you got NIP Mouse, that's a pretty 50-50. OG Ents could be a pretty 50-50. I think Liquid Apex is one as well, which again could even the way that Liquid start these events. So like for matchups, yes, it's going to be tough. Fours play a very good style of Counter Strike, and they're just a strong squad in general. But Greyhound surprise teams, that's what they do. They come into these events, and people just don't expect them to do well. So I think they are going to do better than most people expect. I don't think they're necessarily going to qualify. I don't have them qualifying.
Mm.
It'd have to be a very good path for them, but I think they're going to do better than most people expect, and that could come back to bite me in the ass. But yeah, they're my
I'll
dark
um
horse.
I'll throw fours in there for Dark Horse because obviously I had them as 3-0. But if we want my actual one, I think Apex will do really well.
Yeah, they were my
And
other one.
I think Apex will surprise Liquid. I think it will be very difficult. I nearly just sent my Siri off. I think Apex, yeah, they got the potential to beat Liquid in the best of one. Like genuinely, like Liquid start again slow at these
Yeah,
events. Um, I think Apex has got a pretty good shot right now from what I'm seeing out of them. Like I'm seeing a lot of really good cohesive play, which is something I've lacked and I've wanted out of Apex for like the last couple of months. I think they're turning the corner at the right time. Their coach, the swap of it as well. They've got Cuban, but they've also got the Apex Rebel coach kind of helping as well at the same time. He's like assistant, and ever since he's kind of made the step up, they've actually been performing a lot better as well.
yeah. I think Apex were my other choice in this. I mean, I can happily take them because JK and one of my favorite players in across most of these rosters that he's played in, and playing in the Renegades. So you gets that little bit of Aussie in there, but
Yeah, all right.
it's I had an interview with Nork, and he said about Kixon that he kind of enables these individuals a lot more,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah,
something that has been really impactful for how well they've been playing lately. Something that previous IGLs haven't done for the squad. So yeah, they've just got, like I say before, they have more experience than a lot of these teams, even though the actual org they're playing under might be relatively unknown
Mm,
to a lot of just kind of tier one watchers.
yeah,
So I could, yeah, Apex. I'm happy to agree on that.
cool.
And our final one, our highest rated player. I'll let you kick this one off.
Oh god, I didn't even prep for this.
I'll start with
Highest
mine if you
rated.
want to have a look.
Yeah, yeah, go on.
So I've gone with Nuts.
Yeah,
Based
it's a good shout.
based on his last RMR, they went 3-2. They played Ponte C9, they played Fours, Iron Nation 500. There's a few in there that you kind of expect them to dominate. But he ended up with a
Mm,
1.4 rating overall, second highest at the event. Um, Yeah, I think off the back of Brazy Party,
yeah.
he was playing with like 80 ping and didn't have a great showing. He ruined my fantasy team, I will say that. That's on you nuts. So thanks for that. Didn't realize you were going to be playing with 80 ping. But yeah, I think he's going to kind of come into this event and he's one of those players that will just perform. He doesn't seem like pressure doesn't seem to affect him. And
Yeah.
I mean, you saw at EPL LAN is his home at this point. You
Mm.
know, I can see this guy even. I mean, it's proven in the last RMR, even when his team didn't do particularly well in a 3-2, he still managed to have the second highest rating at the event. So yeah, Nurse is my pick there.
I'll be quick with mine. For a highest rated player, you want to pick a player that is going to play a considerable amount of maps as well to kind of get the rating. I don't know. It depends. You either want to pick a 3-0, so they've got less sample size, or you pick one that will run deep because it will give them more opportunities to kind of put their rating up. So we'll go with the latter, and I'll say Boros on Monte. I feel like Boros is one of the most mechanically gifted players, and he's unreal. And I feel like Monte are going to play a fair few games at the event, so we'll go with Boros. I feel like he'll be up there.
Yeah, I think he surprised a lot of people in his RMR performance. Played extremely well. So yeah,
Yeah, he's unreal.
definitely a good shout. I think most people when they're looking at this event probably looking at Monity, maybe even
Yeah,
your Kinder gets a shout in there, Nico. Some of the more obvious people. I mean actually Phaser even in here, but Phaser's individuals I'm unsure on at the minute other than Rops when they're not performing well, especially in an RMR format, which they struggle with. So yeah, man, it's tough. It's a tough event. It's a lot of teams there that can go through, and I expect a lot of these teams to not go through that we've picked because it's a major. It's the
yep,
it's just the
yep.
stuff. But yeah, this has been our predictions. You can laugh at us for some of our silly ones. You can agree with us for some of our more solid ones. Maybe Fluxo 03. That's what some of you have. But yeah, like, subscribe. Thank you for watching, and thank you again, Brandon, for appearing on the channel.